What is going on, Headliner Nation? Hopefully everyone's doing well out there, and I hope you're ready for some more banger picks in Week 7, because the hotness continues. We have hit 21 of our last 27 picks in this show. That is 78% over the last 4 weeks. Plus, we hit our touchdown ticket on this show last week, which means a lot of people 3.5x'd their money. Now, we continue to do things differently than everyone else. Our process of picking more winners and focusing on doubling and tripling our money is absolutely working. Now, I know people use this video to gain information on players for their fantasy teams, as well as winning money over on Underdog. Now, in today's show, I'm going to be talking about 6 different players. And you can take any 3 of these plays, include them together in a player pick'em ticket on Underdog, and have a chance to at least double your money. Now, I'm also going to be posting more picks in our Discord, so hit the join button just below the video, become a channel member of Full or Excessive Chub, so you can see all those picks as well. Now, before we dive into the players here in today's show, I have to be sure that you are all signed up and ready to go on Underdog so you can follow along and play with us if you so choose. So head over to Underdog Fantasy or download the app, create a new account using the referral code Headliners. When you do so, then all you got to do is make your minimum deposit. You'll be ready for a weekend full of promos that you can absolutely capitalize on. Plus, if you sign up with our promo code and play just $5, you're going to get $100 in bonus funds. It's that simple. Play 5, get 100. It's a no-brainer. But it's also Boostober on Underdog, so they'll be sending out promos almost every single day that you do not want to miss out on. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want free money? But all right, that's enough. Let's go ahead and dive into the players we're talking about here in Week 7. Now, the first guy up is Dallas Goedert, or if you're feeling fancy, Dallas Goedert, and he has been the only piece of this Philadelphia offense that's been worth a crap consistently the first 6 weeks of the season. He's had 20 targets over the last 2 games alone, and he's top 10 among all tight ends in targets, receptions, snap share, slot snaps, deep targets, and air yards. That shouldn't be overly surprising, though. For his career, he has averaged at least 10 yards per reception in all 8 years he's been in the NFL. This year, though, he's averaging a career high in receptions per game and average depth of target. Now he gets a Minnesota defense who allows 11 fantasy points per game to the tight end position, and they were just torched by the tight ends in Cleveland 2 weeks ago. I think it's pretty safe to say that Minnesota is an average defense when trying to contain tight ends. So now, let's head over to Underdog and see if we can take advantage of this. If you pull up Dallas Goedert, you're going to see that his receiving total is currently set to 37.5 yards. Now, he has failed to surpass that total in 3 of his 5 games this season, and that's only a 40% hit rate. So we're going to take that total and drop it down to 24.5 at a 0.70x multiplier and take the higher. That will lower the overall payout at the end, but it's definitely going to increase our chances of hitting. Now, when we drop that line down to 24.5, you can see that it becomes a total that he has hit in 4 of his 5 games this season. Through Goedert's 5 weeks that he's played, he's averaged 48.6 receiving yards per game, but a lot of that had to do with the 110 yards he saw last. It kind of bumped the average. So if we say that's an outlier and we just remove it, he would still be averaging 33 receiving yards a game. Now, we mentioned earlier about the way that Goedert has averaged 10 yards per reception in every year of his career. So if that holds true, this week he only needs 3 catches in order for this pick to cash. He has had at least 3 receptions in 4 of the 5 games this year, including games with 9 receptions and 7 receptions. And with him averaging almost 7 targets a game, 3 receptions is nowhere near out of the question in Week 7. Now, after him is Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings, and I know we have a pretty small sample size on Addison here in 2025, but it is clear to me at this point that he's going to be on the field for at least 75% of the offensive snaps, and Addison isn't some dink and dunk receiver. For his career, he's averaging 4 catches for 57 yards a game and over 13 yards per reception. Now, there is some question whether or not it's going to be Carson Wentz or the return of J.J. McCarthy, but we've seen the production with Wentz, and the talk all offseason was how great Addison looked with J.J. McCarthy, so should we really even worry about that? Now, Minnesota is coming off the bye week where they've had an extra week to prep for this matchup up against Philly. Now, this Philly defense isn't as shut down as it has been in the past. Last week, the wide receiver 1 in New York was LeJordan Humphrey, and even he had 55 yards on this Philly defense. So now let's head over to Underdog and try to take advantage of this one as well. If you pull up Jordan Addison, you will see that his current receiving total is set to 39.5 receiving yards. Now, he has hit that total in both of the games he's played this season, so there is a chance that he could do it once again this week. But in their last game, he only ended with 41 yards, and that's a little bit too close for comfort if you ask me. So we're going to take that total, we're going to drop it down to 24.5 at a 0.70x multiplier and take the higher. Yes, once again, this will lower the overall payout but increase the chances of hitting. Now, by lowering it to 24.5 receiving yards, it now becomes a total that he has hit easily in both of his games this year. We also spoke about how he's averaging 13 yards per reception for his career. So in reality, 2 receptions could get this pick to cash, which is great because he's had 9 receptions in his 2 games this season. If we can get him anywhere near 6 targets this week, 24.5 yards should be fairly easy for him to hit. Now after him, let's talk about a quarterback and go with Spencer Rattler of the New Orleans Saints. And I think we can all agree when it comes to the Saints, they're going to be playing from behind more times than not. And when a team is playing from behind, they have no choice but to throw the ball more so the clock doesn't continually run. Well, Rattler is currently top 15 among all quarterbacks in pass attempts and air yards. He's throwing it a lot, and he's throwing it deep. And now he gets a matchup going up against Chicago. Chicago has allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, and they have been torched by high-powered passing offenses in the past. Now, Vegas has this game as one of the highest scoring games of the week, and a lot of that has to do with the defenses involved in this game. So now let's head over to Underdog and see how we can take advantage of this Spencer Rattler pick. If you pull up Spencer Rattler, you'll see his current passing yard total is set to 206.5 passing yards. That is a total he has hit in 5 of his 6 games already this year, so it's for sure doable. But if we want to better our odds, because he's been pretty close to that line numerous times, we're going to take that total and drop it down to 189.5 passing yards at a 0.77x multiplier and take the higher. Now, by lowering that total to 189.5, it still remains a total that he has hit in 5 of his 6 games this year, but by lowering it, it becomes a total that he has hit much easier this year as well. On the season, he's averaging 203 passing yards per game. In a game in which we expect the Bears to get a lead, seeing Rattler exceed 190 yards passing shouldn't be a huge ask. But let's talk about one of his teammates as well, Chris Olave, up next. Now, you have to think that if there's a chance for Rattler to throw the ball a lot, doesn't it make sense that his wide receiver 1 will have a shot at decent yards as well? And it's not like Chris Olave hasn't been getting targeted this year. Through 6 weeks of the NFL season, he has had 64 targets. He's second among all wide receivers in targets, has the 4th highest target share, has the 3rd most first read targets, and the 5th most receptions on the season. Now, in the past, we would get more big plays from Olave, but this year, he's been a little bit more of an underneath option. He is averaging a career low 8.8 yards per reception, so we need that volume that he's been getting each and every week. Now, we know they get the Bears this week, and the Bears allow almost 30 fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. We saw Chris Moore of the Commanders last week get 46 yards. Chris Moore hasn't done anything really since 2023, and most of you out there don't even know who the hell he is. In a game everyone expects the Saints to be trailing, you have to think that Olave will once again be involved for all 4 quarters. So let's head over to Underdog and take a look at Chris Olave. If you pull him up, you're going to see his current receiving yard total is set to 57.5. Now, that is something he has been able to hit in only 2 of his 6 games this season, so he could do it again, but the odds aren't likely. So if we want to better our odds, let's drop that total down to 44.5 at a 0.74x multiplier and take the higher. Now, once we drop that total down to 44.5, it becomes a number he has hit in 5 of the 6 games he's played this year. Through 6 weeks, he's averaging 57 yards a game, and with the negative game script that he sees almost weekly, he should once again be close to 10 targets in week 7. If he can bring in just 5 or 6 of them, we should definitely hit this pick. Now, after Olave, we got Ollie Gordon, backup running back in Miami, and a lot of you are going, why the hell are we talking about Ollie Gordon? No one in fantasy is really considering starting him in week 7, so I'm not going to waste a bunch of time here, but we have a backup running back who has had 5 total carries for -1 yards over the last 2 games combined. But if that wasn't bad enough, Now he has a matchup against arguably the best run defense in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns. So let's head over to Underdog and try to take advantage of Ollie Gordon. Now, if you pull up his rushing yard total, it's currently set to 16.5. He has only had more than 16.5 yards rushing one time this year. So if we were to take the lower, that right there is an 87% hit rate. And it's a total he's barely hitting in better matchups. This is one of those plays we can take advantage of at the 1x payout, so we're going to take it on the lower side. Now, if you want to make it even safer, you could still move this line up to 24.5 at a 0.69x multiplier and take the lower there as well. But in such a tough matchup for a guy that has negative yardage over the last 2 games combined, kind of seems like one of those times to take advantage of that 1x payout here for this play. It's also worth noting that Cleveland is actually favored to win this game, and if that's the case, we won't see Ollie getting a whole lot of touches in week 7. Now, last but not least is Evan Ingram of the Denver Broncos, and he may not be killing it, but at least he looks like he's finally healthy and getting worked back into this Denver offense. He's now had 6+ targets in 3 straight and 13 receptions over that same span. Now, he's not getting a lot of shots down the field. He's averaging only 8.1 yards per reception, but I love seeing that he's getting snaps out of the slot. You know we love our slot snaps around here. Which brings us to the matchup this week against the Giants. It's been multiple years, but is this still a revenge game? Maybe. Probably not. We saw the Giants get torched by Dallas Goedert last week, though, and we've seen guys like Zach Ertz and Jake Ferguson find success against them as well this season. But I also think about the pass rush of New York. It's gonna get to Bo Nix fairly quick. There's a chance that Bo has to get rid of it quickly, which will benefit Evan Ingram. Why? Because we've already determined that he's not the guy getting deeper down the field. He may be more of the check down binky in week 7. So now let's head over to Underdog and try to take advantage of Evan Ingram. And when you do that and you pull up his receiving yards, you'll see they're currently set at 26.5. Now, he has hit that in 3 games straight, so there's a good chance that he could hit that again this week. But let's just better the odds and drop it down to just 19.5 receiving yards at a 0.72x multiplier and take the higher. Now, when we do that, we see it betters the odds of us hitting for sure, but it becomes a number he's hit in 4 of the 5 games this year. With an average right around 8 yards per reception, we're looking at 3 receptions here in order for him to hit. Well, he's had at least 4 receptions in all but 1 game this year, so we're in a great spot for this to cash. So there you have 6 picks from week 7, and like I said at the beginning of the show, you can take 3 of any one of these picks, pair them together in a ticket on Underdog, and have a chance at least doubling your money. But like I always do, I'm throwing a touchdown ticket out this week as well. Now, last week we found success going with those bell cow running backs, so let's try to do it again this week. I have put in a touchdown ticket with Quinshawn Judkins, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs, all to score a touchdown. Now, if that ticket hits, it's 3.5x your money. Now, if this show got the juices flowing and you're like, yes, I definitely want more of this, be sure to hop in our Discord, become a member of the channel of Full Chub or Excessive Chub, because you'll also get a ridiculously huge discount to NextPlay. We hand out a few picks a week. NextPlay has you covered for multiple different apps and sportsbooks. And this isn't some $200 a month for picks type thing. No, it's less than $10 a month to join NextPlay, so you definitely want to check that out. Now, I'll have links to everything down below in the comment section. Here's to a good week 7, and hopefully we all see a lot of green screens this week.